The Ukrainian military is outgunned and outnumbered. The Russian army is marching ahead at a much faster pace as front lines crumble. A devastating revelation has now come forth. The domestically produced mortar ammunition, believe it or not, is failing its defenders at its most critical moment in this war. So what's actually going wrong? Take a look at this report.
Russia's military is advancing at a pace unseen since the 2022 invasion's early days. In the Donetsk region, Russian forces are moving in fast, capturing an area equivalent to half of London within mere weeks. Moscow is employing relentless infantry assaults designed to systematically exhaust Ukrainian troops and deplete their already stretched military resources. Kyiv in the Donetsk region is teetering on the edge of collapse, with Russian troops poised to take full control.
Once the Russian army takes full control of Kyiv, it will once again hit the morale of the Ukrainian army and accelerate its defeat in the direction of eastern Ukraine. The ongoing ground conflicts in the direction of both Kursk and eastern Ukraine are extremely unfavorable to Ukraine.
Kyiv's retaliatory strikes inside Russia using Western-supplied missiles have triggered brutal counterattacks. Russia fired a hypersonic intermediate-range ballistic missile in Dnipro, further escalating the conflict. Ukraine's crumbling front lines mark a dangerous phase in the war, as Kyiv struggles to hold off relentless assaults and overwhelming firepower from Moscow. Ukrainians are also facing a big crisis closer to home. Tens of thousands of domestically manufactured mortar rounds are being recalled across at least 7 combat brigades due to catastrophic manufacturing defects. These substandard Ukrainian munitions frequently fail to hit their intended targets, rendering crucial defensive positions dangerously exposed. The recall exposes a systemic corruption that has undermined Ukraine's military preparedness, with some officials viewing the ongoing conflict as an opportunity for personal enrichment rather than national survival. Bureau Report WION, World is One.
All right, now to give us more insights in terms of what is happening at this moment in the Russia-Ukraine war, we're being joined by retired Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, who's a military expert and also the host of Daniel Davis Deep Dive on YouTube, and he's joining us live on this broadcast. Now, Colonel Davis, thank you very much indeed, sir, for taking time out and speaking to us here in WION. Let me, in fact, start off by asking you about this report that has come in, which says that Ukraine is recalling nearly about 100,000, 120 mortars because of them being of very poor quality. The fact that there was corruption within the Ukrainian military ranks was quite well known, but the fact that this report has now come out at this juncture, what do you make of this?
It's a really bad sign and a whole sea of bad signs that have been happening for the Ukraine side of late. And these 120 millimeter mortars, just so your viewers may know, that's something that you need on the front lines that affect the tactical view. Just to ask, is getting really close. These are fairly sizable, basically bombs that are thrown into the air. And when you don't have those, when you lose that, then that makes it even easier for the other side to come into your positions. And there was some video on Julian Rupka on his Twitter just yesterday that was talking about how the problem on the front lines is already exacerbated for the Ukraine side because they don't have enough men. It's not even so much about the ammunition or the weapons or the money or any of that kind of stuff. It's about Ukraine doesn't have enough men. Even in the important fortified positions, they're losing those at a rapid rate, whereas the Russian side has no shortage of men. I don't know if these reports about the North Koreans are true or not, but we know that Russia has enough of their own troops to overwhelm some of these areas, and you're seeing it playing out on the battlefield.
The reports, in fact, point out that these mortar shells would get stuck in the bore and would not even fire. Now, the United States of America under Joe Biden has been pouring billions and billions of dollars in terms of military aid should there not be some accountability on the part of the American president for this money that's been spent in the Ukrainian war, which now clearly is showing was spent in these corrupt practice of making substandard weaponry?
Well, you know, this was exposed earlier this year when Russia made a limited incursion into the Kyiv area up in the north, and a lot of the money that we had sent over to build defensive fortifications were exposed as having not even been built in many of the cases. So this is a systemic and ongoing issue. This is just the latest, and I have a lot of confidence it won't be the last one. And you talk about accountability, and that's something that's almost been completely absent. We just have to be honest. There isn't. We just give money, and there's almost no systems in place to be able to see when stuff happens. The only reason we know about this is because it hit the Ukrainian media. And I think that there's virtually no chance that anybody in Washington is going to say, okay, well, now we need to start holding people accountable. They're not going to do it. They'll just keep shoveling more money. As we see just last night, President Biden wants to give an additional $24 billion to Ukraine before he exits.
You know, also, what do you make of these reports that have emerged in places such as New York Times, where it was said through unnamed sources that Joe Biden may consider transferring nuclear weapons to Ukraine as a deterrence against Russia? What do you think is likely to play out
I
here?
think that's just complete hogwash. I don't put a shred of trust in that. I mean, that's, you know,
but that's a report in the New York Times. That's a paper of record in the United States.
I certainly understand that that's where the report came from, but there's, in my view, there is virtually no chance that that's true, that the administration is vehemently denying it. But I mean, there's so many hurdles that would have to go through if anyone ever even thought about doing it. And I don't think that anybody is, as crazy as some things have been in Washington in the last few years, would ever contemplate handing a nuclear weapon to someone as unstable as the Ukrainian president who wants to draw us into a war. That would make it certainly, because I promise you that Russia would not say we're going to strike back at Ukraine. They'll strike back at who gave them the nuclear weapon, and we're never going to take that chance. So I don't believe that report at all.
All right, interesting. Thank you very much indeed, Colonel Davis, for joining us into that perspective there.
Thank you.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.